Hello, welcome to Layback with Betfair Part 2 Ultimate Driver Championships with Tom Haylock. Ryan Spice and Will Norman join me. We'll start with you, Ryan. It's been a massive week. Episode 1 went down a treat last week. Well done. How are you coping so far?
Tom, not a lot of sleep the last 36 hours, 1 a.m. finishes, early up with the kids. But here we are on draft morning and I'm ready to go.
We are recording this on draft morning. The draft starts at 2. We'll publish this show just after the draft. We don't want to give away any of your secrets. Will, how are you feeling, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, Tom. Probably got a little bit more sleep than Ryan, but yeah, really excited to see how this draft goes, and yeah, really excited for a great 2 nights of racing.
We're touching on a lot of races. So we've got 20 heats across the 2 nights, 10 for Friday night and 10 for Saturday night. You guys are keen to touch more on the Saturday night, better quality racing. So I can't wait to dissect all of those races and find a few winners. Well, what's your role in all of this? We spoke to Darren last week. You in off the bench replacing Darren? Are you doing some form? What's the go?
Yeah, try to do as much form as I could over the last couple of days. More to obviously, I'm unable to be up in Queensland tonight for the draft, but yep, just liaising with Ryan and trying to work out a draft or order what we think might be, and yeah, signing some prices and yeah, just general sounding board, I guess, for the great man himself.
Don't have to give anything away, but how have you ordered them, Ryan? You've priced every race. You said you're potentially pricing every race. Have you ordered them in a simple race order, or how does it work? Obviously, you've got some favourites in some races that might be seed 1 or whatnot. How are you drafting it all? How's the order look like visually?
So, Tom, I gave a lot of thought over the last 6 months to what it's going to look like, and my initial step was just to do the form like normal, go through each race, get your structure right, see what stands out, see what could win if they had luck in running. And then I ranked each horse 1 to 10 in each individual race. But then my thinking got to that it probably wasn't enough. How are we going to correlate that to where you sit in an order of 1 to 200? So then I also took the step of going through and pricing every runner, and then correlated that into a list of 200 based on price. And as we sit here on draft morning, the last step is just going to be tweaking that order because it's about earning points rather than prices. So I think a few are going to go up and a few are going to go down now.
And based on the draft, we're going to see if someone picks a horse that you're keen on, what effect does that have on potential draft changes and being flexible on the day?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, I hope teams are selecting horses we've got ranked below. Then there's a few left on the board up nice and high that, maybe something that we've ranked in the top 10 is still available at pick 19 for First Over Crush. That would be a little dream come true and we'd be giggling to ourselves.
Exactly. Well, don't give too much away, but let's get second to some form. Now, race 1, heat 1, Friday evening it is, starts at 5:35. That's local time, is it, Ryan? I believe 5:35 up there in Queensland. Who do we like in Heat 1? It's a national rating up to 70. Who wants to have a crack here? We'll start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, this race I think was probably a little bit more straightforward than most. It's over the middle trip of 2100. We think there'll be a clear favourite here in the form of number 11, Betting Origin. He was back to his best last week when he circled the field and bullied the leader and posted a quick 152 mile. Why we think this horse is sort of sets apart, if he does bring his best, he's just going to be able to make a mid-race move and put himself on the front end, and it'll be catch me if you can from there.
Beautiful. Anything to add, Will? Are you with number 11 here?
Yeah, with number 11 there as well. Everything Ryan just touched on, he's a horse that will be able to work forward, even despite his wide draw, a back row draw, he'll be able to work forward early to mid-race and yeah, put himself right on the speed. I think like Ryan touched on, he's probably a clear top pick in that race. So then we've probably got a couple others just behind him, such as Glen Letty Boy and Captain's Pick. So, but yeah, a clear top pick there would be Betting Origin.
The corporate price is up at the moment. No.
Tom, we've got prices just for the free-for-all on Saturday night, which I think maybe it's about race 5 or 6. Yeah, that's the only one we've got. Prices, and ironically, that's the only race that's not a full field of 10.
There you go. What price are we looking at, Ryan, to have a dabble in on the 11 here?
We've marked betting origin about 280 in a sort of 100% market. That's the level of dominance we think he probably has on this field.
Nice. We won't let the bookies watch this before they put the prices up, that's for sure. Let's head to, we can't cover all of these 20 races. We'll be here till midnight. I can't imagine doing a form for them all. You guys need to catch up on some sleep, no doubt. Let's get to heat 4 it is. Who do we like here, Will?
Yeah, this is probably going to be our number. We get pick number 2, our First Over Crush Syndicate. So this is probably a good chance of being one of our top selections here, and that's with Waikaka Magic, number 6. So this horse has only had the one run in Australia. He's an impressive winner in really wet conditions. Trialled really, really well leading into this run. And yeah, we just think he looks really, really hard to beat. So he's a potential to be our number 2 draft pick on the table.
Well, hopefully we get some snippets on the night. Ryan and Darren can do some videos and tell us that you've got number 6 at pick 2 here, Waikaka Magic. Anything to add, Ryan?
Say that this horse is trained by Chantel Turpin, and the whispers are that it's going that well that they're going to be targeting the New South Wales Derby, which is in a few weeks' time. So let's just say a horse that's a rating 46 is about to go and tackle a Derby series. He really should be flogging these.
Oh, I like that. Any price a good price by the sound of it?
Yeah, from a pricing perspective, Tom, we've marked him $1.50.
Beautiful. Very good. Let's move on to heat 10, the last race on the evening. Who do we like here, Ryan? Continue.
Heat 10 is a 1-win pace, and we think that this is definitely a horse that's going to be considered as the number 1 draft pick by the Boys Get Pay N40 Syndicate, and that's another Chantel Turpin trained runner in the form of number 5, It's Electrifying. This is a first start Kiwi again here, and it's trialled super. Buzz time in 27, hard held pretty much, and it's just racing weaker opposition. So we think that this horse will be highly considered at pick 1, and if it falls to us, that's absolutely fine at pick 2.
Would you take this horse over Waikaka Magic if it was on the table?
Just because of the lack of depth in this race versus the other race. So that's probably, I think, why maybe this horse will go pick 1. But if it falls to us at pick 2, perfect.
Very good. Let's move on to Saturday night. This is where the racing steps up a notch, and we're covering a lot of races here, 11 through to 18. We'll start with heat 11 here. Will, what do you make of the first race on Saturday night?
Yeah, this is an interesting little race to start Saturday night. We think number 4, Mosdale Terry, is a really good chance of fine in the front here. Number 1's a good gate speed horse, Rocks or Diamonds, but normally he's driven with a sit. So I think Mosdale Terry looks a really good chance of fine in the front. Rocks or Diamonds on his back, and probably Rock Supreme 3 pegs. So that would be our thinking there. Obviously, we got a lot of respect for horse number 7 here, Free Thinker, but the draw is going to make it really difficult. But yeah, we think this could be a pegs affair with 4, 1 and 8, looking at potential picks depending on throughout the order, whether we might have to pick one late in the order. But yeah, Mosdale Terry would be our first pick there.
Looking at the pegs, so Mosdale Terry for Shane Graham there just rolls to the front. That's how you see it, Ron?
Look, he'll definitely have to be stamped urgent off the arm to make sure that he clears Rocks or Diamonds. You won't want to give them sort of any thought of kicking up and holding Mosdale Terry out. I think that's the way the map will play out. Full respect, as Will said, to Free Thinker. He is actually the class runner of the race. He was the winner of the Hayden last year and went round in the Eureka. Lovely horse, but he's sort of first up off a mini break, and barrier 7 definitely dents his actual winning hopes.
Good from the outside there for Grant Dixon, barrier 7. Quick one for you. Have you had any consultation with your driver, and has that influenced any of your picks? He's driven a couple of these horses potentially in the past. He knows the track probably better than anyone. Does that come into it with your draft order and your selections here?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. It's been a collaborative approach between myself, Will, and a few other syndicate holders, just getting their opinion. But yeah, Nathan's been integral. We've been on the phone a lot, messaging each other, and just his little insights into how he sees each of the individual horses. So we actually got Nathan to do his own rankings, and then we discussed them from there. Had a few little arguments along the line about pushing one up or pushing one down, but on the whole, I would say everyone matched up sort of 90% of the time, which I was quite surprised about.
That'd be a lot harder for your overseas drivers coming here blind. Is that obviously a big negative for those syndicates? Obviously, they're class drivers in their own right, but knowing the horses has got to be a huge advantage, Will.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's going to sway us a little bit, Tom. We're obviously bumped up our order of a few horses which Nathan's had an association with in the past. So horses that he knows well, he knows how they need to be driven to perform at their best. So, yeah, I think that's definitely an advantage. And like you said, they've got no one, especially the last few years, no one better at Albion Park than Nathan. So, yeah, we think that's a really good advantage. Despite some of the profiles, obviously, all 10 drivers in the series have had great successes. Early in their some early in their careers and some little bit they've been around a little while. So, but yeah, I think having Nathan's experience at Albion Park coupled with his knowledge of the local horses is going to be a real plus.
Might have saved some arguments if you had a Canadian driver that didn't know, he wouldn't know where to ride him, and you just tell him where to ride him.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. All right, let's move on. Let's continue to find some winners. Race 2, Heat 12 on Saturday night. What are we looking at here, Ryan?
We put this race on the list to discuss because we actually, Will and I talked long and hard about this race. There's a few chinks in the armour of a few, but it's a race with really good depth. Our Indifference is a lovely horse, drawn barrier 1. Studley Punter is a really good miler. He's punched out many 152 efforts of late, so he'll be first across to the fence without a doubt. And then we've got a New South Wales horse that's come up to the Graham Dwyer stable in the form of JJ Benny, and he's just a front-end horse, so he's going to be stamped urgent and try and take up the running. And then drawn beside them, we've got the two quality animals of the race, Bronski Zulu and Jamaican Rock. Jamaican Rock certainly got the gate speed, I think, to probably clear Bronski Zulu at the start, so that might be critical. But he certainly seems to profile best as a miler, and this race is over the middle trip. And Bronski Zulu, he likes rolling up the sleeves, getting down and dirty. So we thought long and hard about how to split them. In the end, we're actually still probably not sure, but we did just slightly mark Jamaican Rock in front of Bronski Zulu. And our third-rated horse in the race is one that's got a bit of a tough draw, inside back row, Delhi row. But if they go hard and he gets out, he certainly could blouse them at the end.
Delhi row's got the highest national rating in this. Does that, obviously, Jamaican Rock, 68 rating, is that right? He's just working through his grades?
So he's a recent acquisition out of South Australia for a trainer by the name of Matt Krogan. Look, I'd honestly just put that aside. This horse is a weapon. He's just run some brilliant miles here at Albion Park in fast time. I think he's had 3 local starts. They've all been top shelf. Forget about the national rating here.
Yep. Anything to add, Will?
No, nothing really to add there. Tom, Ryan touched on where we did have a slight lean to Jamaican Rock, but he's an interesting one despite being probably slight top pick in front of Bronski Zulu. It'd be interesting to see if any of those selections are on the table come pick 19 or 22 for us, whether we'd lean that way. So obviously in a race where we had a few chances, and that's not discounting a horse like Ironclad, although drawn badly, he's first up, but really classy animal. And like Ryan mentioned, if they happen to overcook it, which we think there's a chance here, a horse like Delhi Row doing no work back on the pegs, if he gets a bit of luck from at the 500, will be really hard to hold out. So, yep, we could probably see ourselves here potentially with 4 or 5 different horses, depending on where it comes in the draft order.
Are we expecting the market to be similar? Pretty open race, competitive, a bit of value there?
Probably expecting Jamaican Rock to probably go up favourite, a little bit shorter than what we've marked him, purely off his quick mile rates and quick last halves he produced last start. But just, yeah, like we've touched on there, just whether there is speed to his insides, so, and especially going from 1660 up to 2138. So that's what just a slight niggle. If there wasn't as much inside speed here, he'd be right up there in the early picks for us. But just that little bit of a niggle over the longer trip, and whether he gets to the lead as easy as what he has been getting. Certainly makes it an interesting race, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I still think there's a potential a team might even pick him up in the top 10 picks, Jamaican Rock, just because of, like Ryan touched on, his 3 runs in Queensland have all been first class. So, he'd be an interesting decision we'll have to make around if he's still available at pick 19. He might even come into our team. So,
good information. I look forward to watching the draft. Where can we watch the draft, Ryan?
Yeah, Tom, it's going to be live streamed. The whole entire weekend will be live streamed as well from this website, and it is theultimatedriver.com.au. And the draft is 2:00 local time Wednesday.
Beautiful. Heat 13. Move on. Will, anything catch your eye here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because we've got probably the class horse, definitely the class horse of the race is number 7, Aroda. He hasn't had a run for a little while, just the same, and he obviously draws the widest gate here, so doesn't get everything in his favour. But he did race in a New Zealand Cup behind Swayze a couple of runs ago. Yep, none of these horses could even get finished close to as close as he did in the New Zealand Cup. So he's obviously a big question mark whether he's right to go, how easily he can get forward in the race from that wide gate. But outside of him, we did think the one probably controlled the map early, Our Major Day, has the speed to hold up, whether he wants to hold up throughout the race or whether he does get mid-race pressure from a horse like Aroda and is happy to let him go. And number 8, Love Bite here, draws to get every chance. He's going to be leaders back with 3 pegs. He'll be earning good points one way or another here, you'd think, from the draw. So that'd be our top 3 selections in that race.
Beautiful. Aligned, Ryan?
Yeah, I see the race exactly the same. Aroda first up, no trial. There's definitely a question mark there in the gate, but he is.
Is Market going to be a guide there?
Sorry, Market?
Is Market a good guide for that stuff?
No, Tom, I'll back my own judgment and opinion in there. I think Aroda could go up very short. That's my initial read. So, but we mark them much closer together, Love Bite and Aroda. Look, there's a chance that Our Major Day over the middle trip, depending on the driver, might release Aroda and sort of basically guarantee that he finishes top 3. But maybe say if Dexter Dunn or a Yannick Gingras has drafts Our Major Day, I just think they'll keep it simple. We roll on the top end and see what happens. So being flexible during the draft and sort of try and anticipate what likely tactics will be based on who's selected what already in a race, I think is where we have to take our thinking.
Love it. It's a whole new challenge for the form analysts. Let's get to Heat 14. Will, you can kick things up again, mate.
Yeah, this is the only race of the 2 nights where we don't see a full field of 10. So I know 3 teams have already been drawn out of this. So we're one of the teams that do have to make a selection in this race, and obviously point scoring, you don't get as many points for winning this race as what you do the other races. So
how does that work with the teams?
Yep. So there's 3 teams that got randomly selected that don't get a pick in this race. They get allocated 5 points. So it's probably not a bad thing because in this race, first is only 12 points, whereas in a field of 10, it's worth 17 points. So it's about the equivalent of just running, I think it's between 3rd and 4th, is getting 5 points. So it's a pretty walk-up start to know you get to run 3rd or 4th without having to waste one of your picks. So, but on saying that, we're probably, it's a bit of a tricky open race as well. There's probably a few picks we could get, but look, it's not a race we're probably going to be looking at picking one of our early picks, just with the 12 points for first compared to 17 in the other races. It's just not a race. And given the open nature of it, this, like Ryan mentioned, this is the only race that's available on fixed odds at the moment. And we don't see a clear favourite in the race. We've got a couple of horses, 3 horses between about 280 and 440. So, and they are Jimati, Deus Ex, Brados Lad. They're the 3 top picks for us as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting race added into the mix. And if one of those picks become available, like a Jimati or something like that at pick 39 or something like that, we'd probably really consider him. But whether he's probably taken or not by then. So, yeah, it's probably a race we'll probably look to use a later draft pick on.
Fascinating. I love this concept. Ryan, if you've got nothing to add, feel free to add something. If not, we can jump ahead and you can start off with the next race, but go for it.
Yeah, I think we're going to hold our powder dry here and let the race basically come to us. Don't force it. Reduce points, plus also to the good depth. So, like, we'd even be happy to take a horse like Aranya into this race with a really late pick. He's a horse that's on the up and is adapting to free-for-all level really well. He was beaten last week, 3 metres in a super quick run race. And fixed odds currently, he went up a massive price of 60s each way, 20s the drum, 2 place divvies. But if it was a barbecue, there'd be worse bets that you could have in your life.
Yeah, interesting race. 4 races left to cover here. Plenty of winners. Kick off with race 15, or heat 15, Ryan.
Yeah, race 15. This is a quali over the middle trip. Really good depth here in this race. If we were forced to narrow it down, we do rate a horse trained by Donnie Smith by the name of Vinsanity. He's had 1 start up here in Queensland. Absolutely smashed the clock at Redcliffe. Couldn't have been more impressive. Does draw a bit sticky, though, out in gate 6. So does it go forward? Does it go back? If you be a hard decision to make, I think you'd actually want to get the trainer's insights of whether they'd be happy to do mid-race work early, early work in over a middle trip. It did go back at Redcliffe, but geez, it just put him away, ran fast time. So if a horse like Vinsanity fell to us at pick 19, I would be very, very happy.
Cool. I like that. That's good confidence. Will, anything to add, or you're just bullish and praying it gets down to 19?
Yeah, probably not as bullish. Just drawn 6 over the middle trip and probably going to be back in the field more than likely. I'd say they'll drive him a similar tactic. But yeah, his first run for Donnie Smith at Redcliffe was outstanding. He reeled off quick mile rate. His individual sectionals were great. He looks a horse that will. Donnie's had quite a few of these horses he's picked up in his stable that race through the grades, and he looks a real potential to be another one of those. We probably see Risk Taker. He's only missed a place once in his last 8 starts. He's ultra consistent. He's a really good. He's drawn 3. He's going to looks like he'll get a good trip again. He should be in the pointy end of the points, as to say. So yeah, I think he'd be another really good selection if he's come up available mid draft. Outside of that, we're probably not overly keen to take too many others, especially early on. But yeah, like Ryan said, if Insanity's available at pick 19, I think he'll. I think he might be. The First Over Crush might be picking him up.
Lovely. Let's head to heat 16, race 6 on Saturday night for the mares. Turpin with 2 here, and you guys are pretty confident on one of them, I believe, Ryan.
Yeah, actually, Chantel Turpin's got, I think, does she have 3 horses? No, just the 2. In the form of what we think
researched,
is the
Ryan. Don't doubt me.
Sorry, mate. I actually thought they had 3 horses in the race there for a bit. My mistake. It's going to be a clear favourite here, I believe. Out of there's 3 leading hopes, but actually a clear favourite, and that's in the form of a horse by the name of Thesunandthemoon, drawn barrier 7 here over the mile. I do think that she will work forward early and then push on to the top. She'll definitely be in front by the bell, is my opinion. Just ranked in behind her is Mickey Magic, the stablemate. Really nice mare, can do good work. She'll run top 4 without a shadow of a doubt. And then first up is Jungle Baby, trained by Doug Hewitt. She's a man that's punched out multiple 52 efforts. I probably just mark her down for 2 reasons. One, she is first up, but she has had 1 trial, which is great. But she's definitely going to settle rearward. So just having to do that work, if there's no mid-race tempo, that's really going to dent her chances. And regardless, I'll be cheering for Thesunandthemoon because a couple of good mates actually own her.
Good luck. Hope you pick up Thesunandthemoon and you can jump on and be happy either way. That'd be nice. Will, you confident? She rolls forward and hard to beat?
Yeah, I think if this was a regular Saturday night race at Albion Park with the normal drivers, you'd say she'd find the front pretty comfortably, eventually push forward. But like Ryan touched on earlier, we're going to a couple of overseas drivers and drivers that aren't used to driving these horses. So whether they adopt different tactics on some of these horses will be really interesting on Saturday night. But she looks a really good mare going forward. She's going to push forward early. Like Ryan said, she should be able to push her way to the top. And if that's the case, she's clearly the horse to beat. Like Ryan touched on, the stablemate Mickey Magic did run fourth to her last week. Her run was really good as well. So, yep, she'd be a really good pick in the draft. Whoever picked her up as well. And yeah, and Jungle Baby does look a clear third pick, but I think she's probably a little step behind those other two picks just because of those queries. Ryan mentioned she hasn't had a run for a little while. She's not a gate speed mare. She's drawn 6, so she probably comes a little bit below those, but still third pick.
Just on drivers, and you mentioned the way that they often tend to drive and their tactics and stuff. By race 17, or heat 17, do you have a fair idea of whether they're obviously better drivers than you expect, their tactics, whether they like to be more forward in races and stuff like that? Is that something you pick up in 15, 16 races and you can use that to your advantage, Will?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, we're going to be we've probably got a few little driver traits that we think of pre-draft as well. For example, like a guy like Pete McMullen, we know he's as good as any off the gate in Australia. So, and he likes to race on the front end. So whether we start bonusing horses that are drawn, Pete might pick up a horse drawn 1, all of a sudden horse 8 drawn behind, it becomes a lot better pick in the draft. So just being adaptive to those things during the draft as well on drivers we know. But I think we've assembled, you've got 10 of the best. You don't have a mixture of drive. You've got 10 of the really, really good drivers here. So most will understand if their horse needs to be, they'll obviously do a lot of form themselves, and it's going to be to their detriment if they drive horses upside down to their usual racing or best racing patterns anyway. So obviously they're going to be trying to finish top as good a position as they can in each race, and to do that you've got to drive the horse to its abilities as well. So, and we're not getting amateur or part-time drivers as part of the 10 here. We have got 10 really, really high-class drivers. So I think most horses will be driven according to their race abilities, but we don't know the internationals. Obviously, Dexter Dunn's had a brilliant profile all across the world. He's incredible record he's got. Whether he might want to hold the lead on something that normally hands over, which you can't blame him if he does as well. So, it's a really interesting stuff to profile on.
All right, 2 races left to cover before I ask you your best value and potentially any lays on the night. Heat 17, Ryan.
17. Jeez. Here we go.
You're tired by now.
Yeah.
How will you be feeling come, 8:03 on Saturday night?
Yeah. Mate, we'll just be getting warmed up, I reckon, by this time.
Lovely. That's what I hear.
The glow sticks are packed. Yeah.
Pockets filled. It'll be good.
So here in this race, we've got a first start Kiwi by the name of Life of Art for trainer Gemma Hewitt. Comes over had a 30-odd starts, 7-win career, and actually raced against some of New Zealand's better horses that's popped up in its form lines, like a horse called Momonga. Initially, everyone was a little bit, how do we treat this horse? We haven't seen it, hasn't trialled. What do we do with it? How good is it? So it was actually one of those races that you were just happy to perhaps put aside and try not to take a pick in. But word whispered out that this horse is a bit of a machine and been working really well at home. And it actually came out in trial yesterday and was beaten 4 metres in a trial behind one of the best horses in the state by the name of Whisper a Secret. And they ran a 50 flat mile. Couldn't have been more impressive for a band 5 race over the mile. So it's going to jump clear favourite here. And we actually rank in our rankings. We have Life of Art as a 3rd pick. So we're assuming it's going to jump quite a short price favourite here and probably be too good as long as the Tuesday trial effort hasn't flattened it.
Sounds like you at pick, this might be a silly thing. If other people have it pick 3, you might not be able to get your hands on it. You wouldn't actually have it in your stable because you've got 2 ahead of it and you got pick 2.
Yeah. This horse, I'm pretty sure we won't be drafting because I think we've already decided that we're happy to go with one of the other 2 McMullen horses.
Yep.
And so, I think if anyone picks this up from picks 4 onwards, they've got a steal.
Very good. Will, just wins, good trial.
Yeah, really interesting point Ryan just made there. We spoke about this race yesterday pre its trial, and I wasn't overly warm on it, but post the trial, and like Ryan said, it's trialled really, really well yesterday. It just looks a clear top pick now. So, like you mentioned, we've got pick 2 in the draft, and we don't have another pick till pick 19. So yeah, it's one of those horses. Yeah, I think he'd be a lovely horse to get, but he's not in our top 2 picks, and he's going to go by pick 19. So it's a horse for us that. And if he hasn't gone by pick 19, well, that would be an unbelievable situation. So yeah, I don't think too much more. Like Ryan said, he's come across from New Zealand. We hadn't seen him in Australia have a trial or raced up until yesterday afternoon, and well, he trialled like a horse that might be an open horse. So he's lobbed in a band 5 here. So yep, looks really, really hard to beat.
And the last race we are going to cover is a band 5 mares race, heat 18, race 8 on Saturday nights. Ryan, how do we finish off? This might be our last play for the night.
Yeah, this is one of the more intriguing races of the night with how the barriers have fallen. If Rhylee Rainbow had have drawn any other barrier than inside second row, she would have herself been, I think, a top 3 pick. She's a really talented mare. She won our triad last year. She's come back in great form. She ran, I think it was a 51 or a 52 flat mile the other day with when Leader Peter stamped a Virgin and sort of gave all her rivals no chance. She did then come out and disappoint and failed and got beat a long way. So she can be a little bit of a Rocks or Diamonds customer, but still clear on top pick here. I would suggest she'll be straight off the inside into the running lane. And whoever's driving her, I think, will either be up in the breeze at the bell or they would have pushed on to the top.
And Will?
Another horse that's going to fall between pick 3 and pick 18 in the draft, we think. So we think she'll be a top 10 draft pick, but she's not in our top 2. But yep, she looks a horse that should be $1.50, $1.60 more than likely on the night. She's absolutely clear best horse in the race. Like Ryan said, I think they'll probably take luck out of the equation early. Whoever drives it, they'll be straight off the inside early. And she looks like she can probably do a little bit of work over the short trip at some point in the race and still be too good. So we did think the 3 probably finds the front here, so she could be a potential lower draft pick as well, Bonnie's Dance. So whether or not, but that's who we probably had to find in the front early. But yeah, she'd have to come up as a really available as a really late draft pick to want as well. So yeah, another horse that looks really, really hard to beat from a draft perspective. Probably won't get our hands on her, but yeah, whoever does, if they get her inside, if they get her in their first, I've got a feeling she'll be one of the first 10 draft picks of the 2 nights.
Can't wait to check out this draft. It's going to be very good. Obviously, we'll publish this post-draft, so we'll get some clips from you guys throughout the night. I can't wait for that. Obviously, markets haven't come out for the majority of the races. But I'm going to ask you for a best bet, a best value potentially. And if there's anything you're keen to lay on the program, guys, I've given you a couple of races notice. Who wants to go first with their best bet? Don't all dive in at once.
I can go first. That's all right. I think, well, it's an interesting one. But like we said, we haven't got the markets up. Yeah. I think from a best bet perspective, I think our draft order will probably be Electrifying, Waikaka Magic, both on the Friday night. Another horse that we didn't touch on its race, Heat 6, Sports Bounty. He looks really, really well placed. He went terrific last start. He's a 12-year-old though, so that's probably a little bit of a caveat towards him. But and also the Kiwi that we mentioned come across for the Gemma Hewitt stable that trialled yesterday, Life of Art. So I think that'd be your 4 best picks. I think from a value perspective, a really interesting one on the night. I probably think from a value perspective, a horse like Delhi Row could be a really good each way bet at double figure odds.
Race and number there, Will.
Oh, sorry about that. I've got to find out myself. That's off the top of my head, but Ryan might help me out there. I know it's on the Saturday night, early on in the night. I know it's number 8 because race 2, number 8, so Heat 12, race 2, number 8 on the Saturday night.
So I think
there. Yeah. So
I'll let you drown there, Will.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, and thinking of lays, well, in the same race, if it's short odds around the even money mark, I think Jamaican Rock would be a really good lay. But if it's a like we said, it's a really interesting night because we might even be looking to draft it at pick 19 if we can, or pick 22. So I think depending on price, I think it would be a really good risk around the even money. And also interesting on Aroda. I think he's a really one that comes up, like Ryan mentioned, he might come up short due to his New Zealand Cup run, etc. So I think he's another one that would be a really good risk around even money. But that's really guessing 3 days out what the market might do with those. So, but
Good steer.
super interesting night. They're both 2 nights actually. So,
Ryan?
Tom, for me, I think a horse that's bursting to win a race, and I think we'll get black odds about, is in Heat 7, horse 10, just rolling around. I can just see him being tipped to the outside and just zooming home over the top of them. From a value point of view, a horse I've really got a soft spot for and has done good things for the bank account of late is a horse called Rock Supreme. He's in Heat 11, drawn inside back row, so horse number 8. He'll be sort of 4th pick in the market. If there was double each way odds, I'd be keen to sort of load up there 1/4 without a shadow of a doubt. But to actually win the race, he's going to need a slice of luck to get clear running. But he's been dropping 54 halves for fun. And from a lay perspective, geez, mate, I don't know. I haven't, my mind just
Fried,
work
probably.
that way, like and I feel bad. You try and pot one and, poor old connections get dirty and I don't know. It's hard work.
Don't do it. But you're providing content Friday night and Saturday night for Albion Park, mate. So if anyone's watching this and wants to get Ryan's thoughts on his best throughout the card, follow him on the Betfair app as well. Put the notifications on, turn them on. You'll get notified when tips are in the app and you can check out all his bets there. Well, Ryan, good luck in the draft. Good luck Friday night. Good luck Saturday night. May you all be winners. And I'm so excited to see how it all goes. And I'll probably give you a buzz afterwards and catch up and see how it went. But thanks for joining us, Will.
No, thank you for having me, Tom. Really good fun to talk about.
Ryan, pleasure. Follow you.
Thanks, mate. The fun's just beginning.
Good luck. Hope you survive and get the chocolates. Thanks for joining us on Laid Back with Betfair Ultimate Driver Championship.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.